Hello everyone, welcome to another learning episode. Today we will be learning a new topic for oral communication. We are going to understand more about communication and its nature. Now, how do you define communication? Can you think of any word or words you can associate to the word communication? We often associated the process of talking to the word communication. What else? Sharing of ideas, expressions, understanding. These terms are all related to the word communication. Basing from the given words or phrases that we have here, can we now provide a definition of communication? So when we try to base everything from the given words, communication can be the sharing of thoughts, expressions, and ideas to arrive at a certain understanding. According to Gregorium, his definition of communication is the process of sharing and expressing of thoughts, information, ideas, and feelings for mutual understanding. Communication can happen between two people, or it can also happen to a number of individuals talking to one another. This type of communication is what we call interpersonal. Another type of communication is what we call intrapersonal. Intrapersonal is different from interpersonal because when we say intrapersonal, it refers to someone talking to oneself. Intrapersonal is different from interpersonal because intrapersonal is the manner of communicating within oneself. If you are pondering, if you are self-talking, if you are reflecting, then that is intrapersonal because the communication is just between you and yourself. So again, there are two types of communication, the intrapersonal, which happens within yourself, and the interpersonal, when you are communicating with someone or with a group of people. To know more about communication, I want you to watch this video and identify the purpose of the speaker, why he talks to the receiver of the message.
Hi ma'am, good afternoon. Can you ask something about the status of your enrollment?
Yeah, sure. Actually, as of today, we have 28 official enrollees. We have 15 female and 13 male.
Thank you for that information, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome, sir.
After watching the video, what do you think is the purpose or the reason why the speaker wants to talk to the receiver of the message? As you can see from the video, communication is transactional in nature. When we talk about transactional, it means that we communicate to the other person because we need something from them. It's either to ask information, to clarify, to share our opinion, to express our emotions, to be entertained, or to simply socially interact. So through communication, we are able to convey our message through the word of mouth, gestures, signals, signs, and any other forms of communication. Another video I'm going to show you is a form of communication. Now, how do these two people from the video communicate? From the video I presented earlier, we can see a different form of communication. Though most of us communicate through our word of mouth, in the video it presented a different form of communication since the hearing impaired community use the sign language as their form of communicating. Our facial expressions, hand gestures, body language, they all contribute to our manner of communication. There are two key important elements that we have to remember once we are communicating. The first one is, in communication, message must be understood. How should we ensure that our message is understood by everyone or by the receiver of the message? One thing that we have to do is, we should make sure that our message is clear. So while delivering your message, you have to understand that the message must be clear. And in order for your message to be clear, you need to ensure that you have spoken clearly. Your manner of delivering the message is loud enough so the receiver could hear it. And there is no noise barrier around during the communicative situation. The second key element that we have to remember in order to make sure that our message is understood is to make sure that our message is appropriate to the respondents or the listener. How are we going to do it? For example, if we are invited to communicate or to speak to a certain gathering, specifically a graduation ceremony, we have to assess or we have to know who will be our audience. If our audience are kindergarten pupils, we need to ensure that our language is simple, that little children could understand the communication that we're going to convey. However, if we are talking to a group of senior high school students and these senior high school students are already classified as Generation Z students, we need to make sure also that the message could be related to this type of generation in order for our message to be respondent or listener appropriate. If you are a scientist and you're talking to a high school student, you have to make sure that you put everything in a layman's term, or you have to choose simple words that a high school student could understand about these science concepts. The second key element that we have to remember in communication is communication is a social interaction. Though communication naturally is a mental process, we need to remember also that in communicating, we need to be very sensitive. In order for healthy social interaction to thrive, we need to make sure that we develop people who are effective communicators and highly sensitive. Have you tried listening to someone saying sorry, but his manner or his gestures contradict his words, like sorry? Do you think there's going to be a healthy social interaction to someone who knows effective verbal communication but neglects non-verbal communication like facial expressions, tone, manner of saying things? So if a person doesn't know how to use effective verbal and non-verbal communication strategies in communication, it's going to be very difficult to have a healthy relationship within the community. So class, this oral communication subject that we have allows you to become better speakers at the end of the day, because we are going to train you, we are going to teach you how to use appropriate verbal and non-verbal communicative strategies in order to be effective speakers. And for this week's task, I want you to write a 3-paragraph essay discussing the importance of communication. Before we end this discussion, let us have first a brief review on the topic that we discussed. According to Gregorium, communication for him is a process of sharing and expressing of information, thoughts, ideas, and feelings for mutual understanding. Communication can happen into two general types. We have the intrapersonal and interpersonal. Interpersonal happens when you are communicating with other people, and intrapersonal happens when we are communicating within ourselves. So two key important elements that we have to remember when communicating. First, our message must be understood. Second, communication is a form of social interaction. So we have to make sure that we effectively communicate verbally, and we also make sure that we balance it out with effective non-verbal communicative strategies. So I hope you have learned a thing or two from this video discussion. Thank you everyone. Keep on learning.